So tell us why we're in the age of curation as opposed to content creation. I mean, don't we need content to curate?
So there's no shortage of content. In case you haven't noticed, check your Facebook links or your Twitter retweets or your email inbox, or frankly South by Southwest where we are now. I mean, no shortage of people that have ideas and are willing to share them. Really, the challenge is how do you find things? And what I think is really changing is that the things we used to call journalism and the things we used to call brands are all melding together into essentially the new thing, which is a trusted source. Who do I trust? Do I trust, B&H Photo or J&R or Best Buy to tell me about consumer electronics? One of those is going to get me to trust them, and they're going to be the brand I listen to when I want to buy something.
Well, I was going to ask you, what role do brands play in curating content for users online? Could you talk about some brands who have done a good job in sorting out content for people?
So I would say two things. I said, first of all, brands increasingly are becoming curators of their own story. So look, for example, to Zappos as a terrific example of that, or Whole Foods. When you walk into Whole Foods, you're not going to be able to find anything with sweet and low in it because they've made a determination that their brand is about healthy food, and they don't believe that sweet and low is healthy. So you go into Whole Foods quickly, you're in a hurry, you're going to pay a premium for that experience, but it's going to be the opposite of a supermarket, right? It's not going to be everything shelves high, it's going to be high quality, narrow. That's where the future is.
Can you talk about how brands or other media outlets are monetizing curation?
Yeah, so I'm wary of the word monetize, because I think that when people talk about social media, there is this fantasy that as long as you put the word media in the title, you can buy it and sell it. I'm not sure that social is something that you can buy and sell in the same way that you can buy a placement on a television show. And I think brands that try to do that to some extent do it at their peril. I do think that they can, come up with legitimate analytics about how that investment pays off. I think that brands that have a great one-on-one relationship with customers are going to find that they get loyalty, and there's some terrific examples of that. I mean, Apple, is available in lots of stores, but whenever I buy an Apple product, for whatever reason, I find myself gravitating toward the Apple store. It's not any cheaper. In fact, it might even be a little more expensive, but I'm going to buy it at the Apple store.
So you have your book in your hand. Do you want to hold it up and tell us tell our readers what they could get from reading the book?
Sure. So the story of the book actually is that I made the decision that I wanted to curate a conversation about curation. And I started with a list of 70 smart people who I thought could add value, and went out and interviewed many of them and asked them to talk about their experience, both historically with curation and then how they were doing it now. And what I ended up with, which wasn't really necessarily the strategy going into it, was this kind of very detailed journey into this word, where it came from, where it's going. And at the end of the day, I think it's really kind of a fun read. I mean, it's a little bit of a romp. It's not a textbook by any means. It's a journey.
So is curation a buzzword, or is it here to stay?
Yeah, no, it isn't going anywhere. And the reason it isn't going anywhere is because it really is an entirely new practice. So an editor, by way of example, would take one piece of content, would not put their name on it. You'd never see an editor's name above the fold. They would simply clean up your writing and make it a little more coherent. A curator, on the other hand, is a brand. When you curate your blog, when you bring in material and put your brand around it, you're endorsing it. Very different experience. And you're going to see curation, I think, essentially as the new way of organizing the web going forward.